We didn't compete. Uh, I knew what they were going to do. Uh, they were going to be physical with us, and they were really fired up to play. They had a loss at home on a Wednesday night, which they rarely lose, and so they were on the top side of the emotional cycle, and we had some things go wrong early. In terms they didn't score for a long time, so it wasn't like we didn't give ourselves a chance. But as time went on, we just kind of fell apart, and we're not catching balls, and kind of lost a little bit of our energy, and the rest is history.
Was that sort of understandable at all, or is that something you can correct, or what do you do? Where do you go from there?
Well, it's one game. I'm not gonna. It's one game. You guys could have come, by the way. It was a. Yeah. Oh no, that's right. We can't do that.
Yeah, we didn't ask.
No, why would you? There's a football opening in Alaska. Get a call. They actually have phones there. Anyway, we've got some underlying issues that we've got to solve. We've got to play harder in practice. We've got to hold ourselves accountable. We've got to play. We've got to want to try to improve, and we've got to find ways to do that. We didn't have a good week of practice. Guys didn't push themselves, and I knew that we were going to be in for it there, and we just didn't handle it very well.
This is going to be a cliche, but does it get their attention to help you refocus them?
Depends how mature they are. It's not an automatic. I think there's always lessons to be learned. We go back to Wisconsin at our best. It doesn't mean we're going to win there. They don't lose very often there. They were a top 20 team to start the year, and they lost Gasser, and that hurt them a little bit. But they're still a very good team, and especially at home, and there's 17,000 people there, and it was a decent environment, and then the football team showed up. That changed the energy level in the building a little bit. Hopefully, we've got two teams that are probably better coming in, next two, so we're going to have to be better.
Where?
Everywhere. You play harder, catch balls, finish plays, across the board.
How critical is this three-game stretch? Last year you talked a lot about how the league, wasn't received properly across the country by February or March, but that you guys had sort of made your own bed in November and December. This is a three-game stretch where you're playing clearly the three best teams you'll see outside the league.
Well, I don't know that we're responsible for the league's image, but every time we can beat a good team, it helps everybody. There's going to be several teams go into conference with a real good record. How many really high-priced wins there are, I don't know. I don't know that people have played a lot of good people yet, but I think there's probably some games coming up that would be in that mode. And certainly for us, as part of this conference, these three would have been our best opportunity to contribute to our image and reputation.
Do you feel a sense of any more urgency with these games, not for the league, but for yourselves, and what position you might be in March?
Well, I think the games like this are what, it wasn't like the Missouri game, but people watch those games and they see them and they're not very impressed, and so that sticks in your mind. So we need, if, for example, the conference is not very well thought of, then there's not much you can do when you get to conference short of a, Arizona win or something. So, yeah, we need a win to maybe validate who we are, and these next two would be big that way.
What do you think is the answer to containing Bennett, 6'8", freshman?
I don't know Bennett from anybody else. He's a good player. They've got a lot of good players. Moser hurt us a lot last year. They're loaded. They've got a lot of good players that can shoot the ball. They're long. They get a lot off the break. They don't rely on set. There's a lot of stuff point of attack. He's great on the boards. So my first suggestion, just be guard him. Keep him off the glass. Don't give him anything easy. Probably a good enough player that he's going to get some anyway. Most good players will, no matter what you do.
You talk about Moser a little bit. I know he's a little banged up right now, but what kind of player did you see last year? What's he?
Well, he's a great rebounder. Maybe he doesn't have to rebound as much now based on having, Bennett and some other guys that can board the ball. But, I mean, we guarded him well last year to start off, and he hit one right in our face. I mean, it was long, and the guy was right there. It was like, whoops, uh-oh. But he's capable. They've got a lot of guys who are capable. Caton Reinhardt is a scorer. Jones is a scorer. They've got a lot of guys that are offensively oriented players, and yet they've surprisingly done a great job on defense of keeping people's numbers down. Now, they haven't been on the road yet, so that's always a factor. I've always maintained that who you play and where you play them is a factor in early November, December games. But, they are ranked for whatever that means early on, and talent-wise, people know their players.
How do you get your team to play harder in practice? Is that you just say that? You just yell it and stomp your feet? Or
well,
get that,
it's little bits of personality. I mean, we came back off the, that tournament, and we're feeling probably pretty good about ourselves. And, with a whole week to prepare or a whole week to practice, it's a little harder to get them motivated to go up and down. The other thing is we don't have great depth, so we're having a hard time competing in practice and really making putting two players against one another that challenge each other. That's been an ongoing issue for us. We just don't have the kind of quality depth that it can allow us to put 10 guys out there that can really force somebody to have to to play hard to make plays. So, Ricky would help in that regard, give us one more guy. We get him back, we could start to change things. So we're going to try to just change teams up a little bit to give a little more competitive environment in practice if we can.
How close is Ricky to coming back?
Well, he's going to play 5. He's going to try to go 5-on-0 today. I don't know if that means he's going to be able to just run the floor. And then tomorrow I think we're talking about non-contact stuff. And then Thursday we've got off, and then Friday hopefully he'll be ready to practice.
Is it the same thing, Mike, or is it that he had the surgery for? Or?
No. Well, it's probably related just because it's in the same area. The bone looks good. The pin is solid. It's just that the foot probably wasn't strengthened as much, and when we changed the load there, then all of a sudden it started to get a little bit dicey. It's not structural. There's nothing structural. There's probably a muscle pull, a tendon strain, ligament strain, whatever, something in there that between the 4th and 5th that's just acting up. It swelled and it was really sore. So.
But you're not worried that it's going to turn into something that cost you the year or anything?
No, I mean the bone would have to break, the screw would have to break for that to happen unless the 4th metatarsal broke or something like that. I don't think there's any real reason for that to be the case.
You talked before the tournament about the need to get more from your frontline people. How's that been going? Still
Did you watch the Wisconsin game?
Well,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
okay, then. Enough said.
They're going to have a pretty big challenge the next couple of games with Moser and then with McDermott.
Well, Mosier, Anthony Bennett, McDermott is really good. I mean, he's first-team All-American guy. He's a load in there, no question.
What are his skills?
Who, Dermott?
What
I haven't really looked at him. I watched him play Wisconsin. He's just a monster. He plays so hard and he's so skilled.
So what would you be hoping or expecting from, say, Richard Solomon?
In what regard?
To helping you achieve
First
what
thing
you-
would be catch a ball.
just
We
simple as
didn't.
that.
We had 2 or 3 drop-offs that we could have converted. I mean, we could have been up 8-2 to start the game if we'd have just, caught some balls and been a little more attentive to finishing plays. We've got to be able to do that. We don't expect any of our guys to just take it one-on-one and make all the plays. But we in trying to run the offense, we've got to be aware of when the ball is going to be passed. We've got to go get it with 2 hands, and we've got to find a way to finish.
If you can't play Ricky, either now or at some other stretch, are you gonna try to expand your rotation? Yeah, you pretty much played 7 guys, and I realize that's what you feel comfortable with, but. are there
Well, if I had
any-
Ricky, I would be at 8, which is a decent rotation, and I could, look to find a 9th and 10th guy that could give us something, whether it be energy or rebounding or, maybe a perimeter shooter that didn't have to do much against his zone or something like that. That would be a perfect world. But
Can you
if
afford to do that without him and make that guy that?
I don't know. Probably would be difficult, but you'd still have the same scenario. I would still have to try to find 2 guys that can do something to help us.
Is Wallace settling in the way you thought he would?
Yeah, he did a nice job. I thought that pretty tough environment for a freshman. Played a lot of minutes at Wisconsin. Had a real tough offensive foul call that kind of probably took him out of his rhythm a little bit. He got a steal, was headed for a layup, and guy barged him, and he put his arm out, so and then it was on us. But he did a good job. He's good on the boards. He's good defensively, and he plays with a lot of poise. He had a couple layups that they weren't easy plays, but that he's just that far away from finishing that if he made those, he would have had a heck of a game.
Mike, Justin has played generally very, very well for you. He's shooting the ball great, but I notice he's got actually more turnovers, maybe 1 more turnover than assists.
As does our team.
Yeah.
It's an issue.
But from your point guard is clearly not what you want, and I know he's not purely a point guard, but he's playing that position a lot. What does he have to do differently to clean that up?
Well, he just has to stay within himself. He had 7 turnovers, no assists against Wisconsin. And, some of them were not really his fault, I don't think, balls that should have been caught. But nonetheless, he has to stay within himself, and, we have to understand what each of our teammates can do and what they're likely to, where they need the ball and then it's his job to get it to them in that position. And there's some growth that needs to take place there.
So there's a certain place where you give, say, David Kravish or Solomon the ball, and other places where you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just try to force it in and you can't trick your bigs. Bigs got to see the ball. They got to know there's a chance it's coming. They got to see the ball. So all of a sudden the ball comes winging around somebody and they don't see it, then there's a fair chance they're not going to handle it. So that's always been the deal. You can't trick your bigs. Just make it easy for them and let them use their size and go up and finish plays.
There's some of that on them to understand where and when it might be coming to them.
No
besides
question.
when you're
Anticipation
looking at
is
the
a
guy.
big part of it. I mean, you should be looking at the guy when he's going to pass it to you, but there's an anticipation factor there that says, hey, this is a play where he's liable to put it down. I need to be ready for it and react to it. We had some poor reaction to ball in that game. For whatever reason, we just did not react to the ball very well.
And Kravish is included in that. And,
A little bit, sure.
he has pretty good instincts overall, though. Doesn't he?
Not bad. Yeah, we had a couple, ran one set that we had a guy open almost every time and we didn't pass it to him where we should have. We've got a lot to learn about our offense and what we're trying to do and what we should be looking to do and what's a good gamble, what's a bad gamble, what's a good play, what's a bad play. And that, having all that been said, if we make a mistake, we can't dwell on it. We've got to sprint back, bang the floor, look at each other, and get the ball back. Turnover doesn't hurt you, but we had 18 points. I forget what the two numbers were, but they were not good. 25 points on turnovers we gave up and 18 points on second chance. I think those were the 2 numbers. So it was anyway, 43 points that we gave up on things that you theoretically can control or should be able to control to a greater degree, and we didn't do that.
Obviously, you're in a position where you need a lot of production from Justin and Allen. Are they mature enough not to press and stay within the offense when you need such a huge volume of points from them?
Sometimes. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I thought Allen had a very good performance, given the fact that he was really the only guy that could score. And, you know, obviously people loaded up on him pretty good. But we need 4 other players besides those 2 that are capable of having double-figure games. Probably not every game, but any game they could be capable of scoring from 10 to 20 points. And the expectation would be that we would have that in any given game.
Does someone have that kind of potential for
Sure.
scoring?
Well, I mean, he's not going to make 8 different moves, but if he does his job, you get 1 off the break, you get 4 off the offensive glass, and then in a set offense, you get 2 or 3 balls put to you right where you need to be, and make a couple foul shots. Next thing you know, you walk away, you're at 12-14. I mean, it's not any more complex than that. It's not like we're asking you to, have a great move. We looked at tape yesterday. At one time, we went down to Dave. He held it, took 1 dribble middle, shot the jump hook, went in, and I said, how many times did we do that? Well, guess what? That was the only time in the whole game that we got it down low, and a guy just took his time and made a nice, simple post move. And it's not that complex.
Right now, I take it teams are looking at you guys and saying, we can deal with these 2 guys. We don't have to worry about the rest, and that's not going to work for you, right?
Not going to work.
Do you know for sure? You don't know for sure if Kreckler is ready to go down on
No.
Sunday. You're waiting to see on Friday, pretty much.
Yeah.
And if when he's healthy and in the mix again, do you envision him as your 6th man, or would you see him in the starting lineup? Or
Well, he's a player that will play a lot of minutes. He brings to us what Wisconsin, how they play. I mean, they've got guys. There were guys running down to get back on defense like their hair was on fire, and that's Ricky's that kind of guy. He's going to go on the floor. He's going to get floor burns. He's going to, and that will help everybody because that's not the nature of our team. He hasn't even practiced enough I don't even really know what he can do within the context of the offense because he's not been practiced enough to even know what a good shot's going to be, where it's going to come from, or any of those things.
but it's to be seen whether or not you prefer that as an energy boost off the bench, or whether.
Well, I'm not. That's.
Yeah. Get him out there first.
Yeah. Let's have him practice once.